What I do on my off days, which is Mondays for me, try to find ways to relax by the video games, and I'm taking up a new hobby. That's part of my triathlon training, which is going to be doing some more Legos and kind of clearing my mind. So this is a set I'm going to do to honor my grandmother. I normally buy her flowers and put them in the vase on my mantle. But I'm going to go ahead and keep these permanent, so she's always with me. We'll do a little quick time lapse, let y'all see how this comes together, and you'll see the final product.
Ow.
Okay, live stream didn't work, so this is the video afterwards, guys. This is the Anna Alexa's audiobook, and that's the grandma, so
the difference wasn't physical. There had to be something that clicked in you, something internal that changed everything. What led Pew from his test run failures, which left him engulfed in fear, to the confidence and focus that allowed him to conquer the impossible? How did he overcome his fear? In this chapter, we'll delve into how Pew won his inner battle and how you can do the same. We'll study the three most powerful resources in the world: love, wisdom, and courage, and how they form the basis for the three pillars of extraordinary performance: lead with your heart, expand your vision, and be fully present. In the pursuit of our most difficult goals and dreams, we all must face our doubts and fears. Fear is full of partly because of the trouble we have with words, which makes it harder to address. Fear separates us from the truth of who you are and what's possible in your life. As you familiarize yourself with how your mind works, you can learn to embrace your fear and not be frozen by it. And if your life has a purpose beyond yourself, you'll be willing to take more risks than you would otherwise, empowered by a life of connection and meaning. When the pressure is most intense and your greatest fears are imminent, there must be something greater to navigate through the fear, something beyond your goal, beyond winning, beyond, perhaps, even death. The Canadian kid who was always bullied. Little George grew up in a small town in Quebec, Canada, with an alcoholic father at home and bullies at school. He lived every day with the gut-wrenching threat of getting beat up after class.
The Lego Builder app for this one.
When he was enrolled in a martial arts class, he felt that he finally found a home, a place where he learned to face his fears. He eventually became a professional fighter, but he was still afraid. George explains, "When I was young, I thought that nervousness and fear would disappear over time. But I realized that not only does it not disappear, it gets even worse. The only thing that changed is now I accept it. I know it's going to be there. I know how to deal with it. Now, with experience, I know I'm going to be scared when the fight's coming. I know I'm not going to sleep well the week of the fight, but I accept it. Early on in my career, I would freak out, sleeping only 4 hours the night before a fight. I put more pressure on myself because I thought I wouldn't be able to perform my best because of lack of sleep. But now, I know it's normal. I accept it. It's a suffering process that I have to go through before a fight. But it's still as bad as it was. The only difference is that I accept it now." George St. Pierre went on to become a world champion and one of the greatest mixed martial artists in history. We all have fears. The great question is, what will you do with yours? If you're like most people, you move away from that which you fear. It's human nature. But this avoidance really limits your life and the greatness you're created for. We become great not by avoiding our fears or even overcoming them, but by facing them and being willing to feel whatever emotion that might come up when we do. The daring in the twilight. Far better is it to dare mighty things, to win glorious triumphs, even though checkered by failure, than to rank with those poor spirits who neither enjoy nor suffer much, because they live in the gray twilight that knows not victory nor defeat. Theodore Roosevelt, 26th President of the United States. Louis Pugh was afraid. In fact, one thing that didn't change in the 2 days between Pugh's crushing failures and his stunning success was fear. After his second failed test swim, he thought, at best, I'll lose a few fingers. At worst, I'll die. He desperately wanted to turn back and give up. It was not until the moment he stepped out onto the sea ice that his fear turned into aggression. How was he able to overcome his fear, depression, and doubt? Before we examine how he did it, it may help to look at why he would do it. He asked himself that very question over and over. What pushes somebody, he asked. I'm not a lunatic. I'm not a madman. I'm a lawyer. I have a lot of experience in swimming. What pushes somebody to sail all the way to the North Pole, 7 days of sailing, and stand there on the ice and take the jump, when even the experts say you could very well kill yourself? Why would anyone purposefully risk death? It seems there are 3 possible reasons someone may do so. For a purpose beyond the individual, some bigger cause, or to save or help others. To feel alive in a way that can be experienced only when the risk is high enough, perhaps close to death, where it requires full concentration to be fully present. Or a lack of concern for self. What animates mountain climbers is not a death wish, but a life wish. A desire to truly live, fully, intensely, completely. I've never met a group of people more truly alive, physically, emotionally, intellectually, spiritually. Rather than courting danger for its own sake, they do so as a means of deepening and enriching their experience. Nicholas O'Connell, Beyond Risk, Conversations with Climbers. Fear is designed to help us. It protects us from danger and helps us focus. However, fear and other emotions can get out of control. There's so much energy in fear that it can be crippling. Pugh, on the other hand, was able to use the energy from fear to empower him. When he stepped onto the ice at the North Pole, a sense of confidence and intensity came over him. Something clicked when he felt the bitter cold. I was in a totally different zone. I walked off the ship, and somehow, for the first time ever, I felt so confident that this thing was going to happen. His self faded to the background. He became so connected with the mission and his team that he was again ready to risk his very life to accomplish his purpose. What Pugh did was connect with something bigger than himself. The swim was his way of using his gifts to make a positive difference in the world. Pugh found something that was so compelling to him, the devastation of global warming, that he was willing to give his life for it. In doing this, he found a way to face his fears and truly live. Self-mastery and the pursuit of greatness. To truly live, according to Maslow, is to seek self-actualization. It's the final stage of personal development. In Chapter 1, I relabeled this stage selfless actualization and defined it as achieving the highest calling possible, being your true self as you serve others and live with fullness of life. There's a Greek word that describes this phenomenon, Zoe. Zoe is a state of being possessed of vitality, with absolute fullness of life, real and genuine, active and vigorous. It's the full potential of your inner life, the generator of intense beauty and passion. Zoe is the full expression of love, wisdom, and courage. These 3 resources are intimately interconnected. You can't fully experience one without some of the other 2. When you experience all 3 together, Zoe unfolds in wholehearted, sacred moments. Often our lives are entangled in pursuits and motivations that seem alluring, but take us away from what we want most. These pursuits divide our hearts as we try to fill our lives with success and happiness, but every achievement brings only temporary satisfaction. Most people don't actually know what they want most, besides material success. I know, however, that as you're listening to this, you're realizing that the greatest possible life is one filled with love, wisdom, and courage. Love is fearless. Wisdom creates the best long-term decisions, and courage does it all with boldness and grace under pressure. These three virtues are the foundation for fullness of life, as well as extraordinary performance. The three crucial characteristics to master any performance are 1. Belief, 2. Focus, and 3. Freedom. Just like the acronym Best Friends Forever, BFF stands for something memorable as well. The three vital aspects of high performance. Belief separates the best from the rest. Focus is your ability to have heightened awareness in the present moment. And freedom is your ability to be bold and take risks, holding nothing back. To play with freedom means to play your sport or instrument or role like you did when you were a kid on the playground, with no concern for people's opinions or how you compared. Playing with unconditional love, not loving it if you did well or may get some award. The word compete comes from the Latin competire, which means to seek together, strive in common, coincide. True competition means two or more rivals are playing the game they love together. Great performers love competition in and of itself. It's an opportunity to feel alive. Genuine competition isn't an event to see if you can beat your opponent or to see who's better, but an event in which people who love the same thing get to experience how well they can push each other to develop self-mastery by learning and growing in love, freedom, wisdom, belief, and courage. Focus. Consider the Olympic Creed. The most important thing in the Olympic Games is not to win, but to take part, just as the most important thing in life is not the triumph, but the struggle. The essential thing is not to have conquered, but to have fought well. We might add this: to learn and grow, to be your true self, to fill your heart with love, wisdom, and courage in order to live an extraordinary life. To live among the daring rather than the great twilight requires a different mindset and way of living. Those who do so are unique in three primary ways. 1. They know who they are, created for glory. 2. They think, talk, and act differently from everyone else. They have strict boundaries around their routines, around who they associate with, what they talk about, and what they focus on. They continually reorient their hearts away from surface-level awards and the shiny things the world says are prestigious, instead preferring to build something that lasts, a powerful inner world. And 3, they crave greatness and the glory they were created for. Rather than conforming to the world and its version of success, they surrender their very lives, sacrificing temporary pleasures, acceptance, and comfort. When the rest of the world is sipping hot cocoa next to a warm fire, they're out facing their fears in a way the world says is crazy. When you realize that every material possession and award you obtain on earth is but a faint glimmer of a life filled with love, wisdom, and courage, you'll crave that fullness of life first and foremost, and let everything else be added to you. Your success and accolades will all be byproducts. This pursuit doesn't take away from time spent working on your craft. In fact, it may increase it. It provides a deep inner strength to go directly for what you're ultimately after. An extraordinary life doesn't necessarily mean you break world records or that you need to be a professional athlete. Your extraordinary destiny may be as a makeup artist or a monk, or both. You can be a janitor or an Olympic champion. Whatever your role or status, your life can be filled with deep, meaningful relationships and great experiences. We can all pursue and live with Zoe, absolute fullness of life. Take a look at the PDF and see the choice you have each day on the path to Zoe. Leading with your heart is developing the self-awareness needed to live with passion and be your true self. It means clarifying how you want to feel and live and who you want to become, who you are meant to become. It means learning to love unconditionally, because this kind of love, the only real kind, is fearless. Leading with your heart brings freedom. Expanding your vision is seeing beyond yourself, having a purpose beyond your goals, being part of something greater than yourself, and continually expanding your belief to drive your growth. Expanding your vision brings wisdom. Being fully present is being fully engaged in the moment, having a clear mind and unburdened heart with no needs or self-concern. Being fully present brings courage and reveals beauty that creates a sense of gratitude. To continually lead with your heart, expand your vision, and be fully present is to seek self-mastery. Mastery is the pursuit of personal growth, to learn how to live with love, wisdom, and courage, and ultimately, Zoe. Thus, self-mastery is to pursue Zoe directly as your greatest goal. This enables you to let go of attachment to every other goal, which gives you the greatest chance of achieving them. Mastering the ego in pursuit of Zoe. As I've shared with you, your biggest adversary is your ego, the part of your mind that's always threatened, always comparing, and never satisfied. The ego is in direct opposition to your pursuit of mastery in Zoe. Here are some reality checks to see how your ego is influencing you. You're worried about what people think of you. You're nervous about doing or saying something embarrassing. You're more concerned with being right and appearing smart than learning the truth and being wrong. You're obsessed with winning more than fully experiencing the moment and getting better. You're offended or angry when you felt embarrassed or humiliated. Here's some ways to recognize if you're learning self-mastery. The rhythm of your life has more space in it, with more compassion and less impatience. You're becoming less caught up in your mind, developing non-judgmental awareness, knowing that you don't know what's truly best for you, circumstance-wise. You're less attached to your results, wanting to learn and grow and get better, more than being recognized for your accomplishments. You're becoming more concerned with empowering others than you are with having your own power, status, or recognition. You listen more than you speak. You're developing strict daily routines that help you lead with your heart, expand your vision, and be fully present. The ego has certain needs, and when those needs aren't met, we get embarrassed, offended, or irritated. The ego says we need to always appear graceful, smart, and successful, not embarrassed, respected, not offended, and comfortable, not irritated. That's why the 5 factors of the affluenza virus are so attractive, because they seem to increase how smart and successful we appear. We can look more beautiful, gain more respect, and be more comfortable, or so the ego will tell us. When I think of self-mastery, I envision mastering the ego by becoming 3 things. 1, unembarrassable. To be completely humble and selfless, where nothing you or anyone else could say or do would embarrass you or reduce your sense of well-being. 2, unoffendable. To be completely humble and selfless, where people's words or actions don't push your buttons or make you angry. To have self-control, not be self-protective. And 3, unirritatable. Steadfast, calm, and compassionate to other people's flaws. Fully present to the beauty and possibilities that always await. To be unembarrassable is to get to the point where no mistake or foolish words or actions, by yourself or others, can make you feel less of a person, making you want to run and hide. When you're embarrassed, it's simply concern for self. The more embarrassed you are, the more worried you are about your image. Humiliation is a mental construct. Otherwise, how can 2 people experience the exact same thing, where one person is traumatized and the other simply laughs it off? Humility isn't thinking less of yourself. It's thinking of yourself less, reducing the self-protection and fear that comes from a self-centered life. To be unoffendable is to be so selfless, and therefore fearless, that no one could say or do anything to threaten your sense of self and steal your peace and presence. When you're unoffendable, you have the freedom to live life unattached to the words or actions of anyone you might encounter. In our social media-directed world, the new normal is a life of comparison. When we're constantly comparing, we often feel not enough, which causes self-protection, which leads to being easily offendable. When this is the case, we're always one comment away from conflict, just a puppet on a string, pulled in whatever direction someone's words or actions may direct us. You might say, well, what if someone is totally rude to me or takes advantage of me? Then the best course of action is to use wisdom to discern how to proceed. Don't allow their lack of wisdom to become yours. The purpose of your life should always be what's guiding your life in every single moment, not letting the ego push purpose aside for some temporary circumstance or event. If you want to live an extraordinary life, you cannot let other people's words or actions take you out of your rhythm or flow. Most people set their sights way too low, and if you're reading this book, your dreams are probably larger than average. The bigger your goals are, the smaller your group of peers becomes. Less and less people will be willing to sacrifice what you're willing to sacrifice. They won't have the same discipline or boundaries as you. This does not mean you're better than them. It just means you need to be careful who you spend time with, because you're becoming like the people you spend the most time with. It also means there may be more people who can't relate to you or will judge you. All I want you to think about are the Norwegians on your team. Just think about the 100-meter mark. Please, Lewis, do not think about doing a kilometer. You'll never make it. Break that beast down into little manageable chunks. And when you get to the Norwegian flag, forget about the Norwegians and just think about the Swedes, and so on, until you get to the end. When you find a purpose that provides you with its own reward simply by the act of pursuing it, then you'll be empowered. If that purpose serves the greater good, it'll provide meaning in your life. Purpose beyond yourself moves your identity from what you have and what you've achieved to serving others. Your value increases and your concern for self decreases. Lewis achieved what he did because of unconditional love. If it was conditional on feelings or admiration or outcomes, he would have given up. It was for a purpose beyond self, about important truth, not temporary transactions. Courage, be fully present. The courage of a master is measured by his willingness to surrender. George Leonard, Mastery. Lewis Pugh had to be fully present in order to swim in freezing waters. He couldn't think for a second about how cold the water was, or about the likelihood that most people would die in a minute or two in water that cold. To be present like that under life and death circumstances took a lot of courage. Courage is the ability to be fully present in adversity. Being fully present allows you to learn the lessons that life brings to teach you. You can gain the wisdom on how to live with passion and lead with your heart. This isn't an easy undertaking, however. It's difficult to be present when fear and comparison exist all around you. It requires serious mettle to be present and true to self in a world trying to make you like everyone else. If your goal is to perform extraordinarily, you need to learn how to be fully present in the most intense situations. If your focus is outcome-oriented, something in the future that you don't have full control over, then it can be hard to have courage. But if your focus is to share something beautiful with the audience, then courage becomes easier. Sharing something beautiful, even if it only takes the form of perseverance in the midst of adversity, helps you focus on being fully present. Courage is gained by setting key process goals you can control so you can improve and be successful every day. Rather than obsessing about the result or having your best performance, redefine success by focusing on the process of daily improvement. At the end of the day, ask yourself how you did with these 4 process goals. The Fearless 4 daily process goals. 1. Give my best, 100% of what I have today. 2. Be present. 3. Be grateful. 4. Focus on my routines and only what I can control. When you realize the absolute dependence extraordinary results have on your inner world, you'll learn to focus on the crucial components, like these 4 process goals, that lead to extraordinary performance. Like Lewis Pugh and his flags placed every 100 meters along his 1-kilometer route, break your goals down into little manageable chunks. You'll find, as Lewis did, that the results will take care of themselves. In 2019, one of my PGA Tour golfers began a routine of meeting his caddy before every round and going over these 4 goals for the day. After reviewing the goals, they took a minute of silence to visualize themselves pursuing those goals that day. After several weeks of doing this, it paid off. They won over $1 million US. We all want to win. The question is, what's the best process to win and be your best? Being your best occurs most often when it's a byproduct, not the end goal. Sometimes athletes confuse giving their best versus being their best. I spoke to Frosty Westering, Hall of Fame football coach, to help us clear that up. Frosty defines the 3 types of best. The question is, doesn't everyone want to be number 1? Well, we all want to win, but it depends on how we define winning and how we understand the joy of competing without the fear of failure. Defining what best is a key thing. Society says we won 4 national championships, but we also lost 4. But the ones that we lost were great games, just terrific gains. What I've done is try to take the 3 definitions of best and lay them out in a way that our guys understand it. First is being the best. That's what everyone talks about, being the NBA champion. When you win it, you're everything. When you don't, you go home a loser. I don't believe that at all, but that's something you've got to challenge. Being the best is a byproduct of other things. The second definition is being your best. Well, how do you know what your best really is? I think that's really the key in coaching, to try to help a person reach his or her potential, whatever that is. So you ask, how do you measure potential? There's all these fitness tests that they run, speed, agility, things at the combine. But there's another one, the inner game, the inside test, which is even greater than these. Author's note, the combine's a week-long showcase for prospective NFL football players to be evaluated by NFL teams. Okay, back to Frosty. In football, you got to be able to run. You got to be able to hit and do all those other things. But the bottom line is, those are not what really make the difference. Parents tell their kids to do their best, but so many times we aren't our best. We try hard, but we're not our best. So we have to figure out another way that you can deal with competing. And again, understanding that we may not be the best. We may not be our best, but we can accomplish one thing, and that's the third definition, which is your best shot. Your best shot is just preparing to do what you've got to do and going out and loving doing it, even if you aren't doing it very well. You love doing it because you've worked hard and you understand that that's what makes you better. And when you do that often enough, even when you're not doing it very well, and you're surrounded by others that believe that, you start bringing out the best in each other. That's what I call the double win. The double win is bringing out the best in teammates and yourself. When you do that, even though you're not your best, they help you bring that out, because on a given day, you never know who it is that's going to be right there. You learn to give it this best shot in everything you do, even when it isn't very good. So then you take a look at how that relates to being the best. By giving it your best shot all the time and loving to compete, you start doing your best more of the time, and you become the best more often. Frosty Westering, Pacific Lutheran University football coach, 4-time national champion. In the 4 daily performance goals I shared with you, to give your best means give your best shot, the best of whatever you have that day. It may not be very good. You may be only 40% of your regular self today. Perhaps you have a nagging injury, a bit of a cold, and your pet turtle just died. But you can give 100% of that 40%. If you do, then that's success. The life diamond and the pursuit of Zoe. Every day, we wake up with a choice. Do we let our natural self-centeredness and ego lead us towards doubts and fears? Or do we choose to focus on love, wisdom, and courage? If we don't make a conscious decision, we'll inevitably follow our natural inclination down the pyramid. We cover the self-centered path towards fear in chapters 2 and 3, and the purpose-filled path towards Zoe in this chapter. Take a look at figure 4.2 in the PDF. You'll see how it comes together in the life diamond. In summary, fear is overcome through love, wisdom, and courage. These 3 pillars are the foundation for self-mastery that enables us to be true to ourselves and live with passion, purpose, and poise. Mastery reveals itself in our ability to be fully present with a positive energy. This positive energy is enhanced by focusing on the process of daily improvement, not the outcome, and the purpose of your life. The purpose and the process. The focus on the process of daily improvement and not the result is to target the 3 pillars of inner excellence: love, wisdom, and courage, as I just described. Love, wisdom, and courage help you live out the purpose of your life. When I say the purpose of your life, I mean what you value most and what makes you come alive. For me, the author, my purpose is to share God's love, wisdom, and courage with athletes and leaders around the world. There's no one more filled with life than someone who's living out a purpose built around sacrificing self to serve others. It's a very powerful, positive energy. The journey towards Zoe, absolute fullness of life, becomes more about the experience than the outcome, more about relationships than circumstances. The pursuit of Zoe is to go directly after what matters most in your life. For this, you seek a purpose for your life beyond yourself, which is the key to the fearlessness that's waiting for you. When the end of your life draws near, you look back with no regrets, with peace and fulfillment. This is Zoe.
All right, that's going to stop.
Key points from Chapter 4. There are three pillars of excellence that overcome fear and form the foundation for mental strength and an extraordinary life. Love, wisdom, and courage. Love is to lead with your heart. Wisdom is to expand your vision. And courage is to be fully present, all of which lead to resonance and extraordinary experiences. Pursuing the three pillars of excellence is to pursue self-mastery. Redefining success is crucial to reaching your potential. Focus on the 4 key process goals every day. Your best shot, best effort, is something you can do no matter how you feel, which helps you stay present and have courage. Self-mastery is mastering the ego, the part of you that wants to look good, not be good, the part that's always threatened, always comparing. To master the ego is to be unoffendable, unembarrassable, and unirritatable. Resonance is to be fully present.
Okay, everybody, once again, that was Inner Excellence and Fly Out Through My Grandma, Part 1. Definitely loving working through this book. Everybody knows AJ Brown. Y'all know how it goes. Philly. Congrats to Philly. Cowboys fan. But again, thank you all for following, and subscribing. We'll keep training. I'll post some more details around what my training process looks like right now, leading into the next month of marathon training. And we will keep going from there. So, appreciate you.